Alright everybody, so today the time is 10:34 p.m. Today is June 19th, 2021. Tomorrow, Michigan and Indiana have an enhanced risk for severe weather, as well as Ohio also having a slight risk in Michigan and Indiana. So pretty much anywhere surrounding is having a slight risk. So I'm just going to use this video to dive through the models that I am seeing, and then we are going to basically develop a rough idea of what the weather looks like tomorrow based on the models. So before we do that, I would like to invite you to subscribe to all of our different networks that we have set up. You can scan this QR code with your smartphone if you are watching on a laptop, but we have all kinds of different ways you can get connected with Great Lakes weather, and all of the information that you need is right here, so you can pause the video to take a look at this information and get connected, or you can just continue on with the video, and we will not be upset if you don't subscribe or follow to us, but a like on this video would be much appreciated. So that's all I wanted to say. Let's dive into the weather. Alright, so right now I'm on my browser just taking a look at the models. So this is the Storm Prediction Center, and their current setup for what we could see in regards to severe weather tomorrow. So you see, we have in southern lower Michigan, we have a slight risk and enhanced risk, particularly for counties such as Kalamazoo, Van Buren, Berrien, Cass, and St. Joseph are all involved in those different, in that enhanced risk, and parts of Calhoun counties as well. So just several counties in southwest lower Michigan, quite a few counties in northwestern Indiana. And the slight risk sort of just surrounds that little area. And so we're going to take a look at the tornado risk, because that's actually a greater concern in regards to Michigan. Michigan, despite the fact they're only having a slight risk for severe weather in the eastern part of Michigan, you can see that there is a 5% risk for tornadoes. That's not a terribly high risk, but it's the same risk they had when they had that large tornado in Indiana 2 days ago. So we're going to be keeping an eye on this. I'm going to be storm spotting tomorrow. You'll see some updates on Instagram if you're subscribed on there. So that's the tornado threat. The wind threat is a little more substantial. They're particularly emphasizing that southwest lower Michigan could see the brunt of the wind. So the brunt of the wind is going to be in southwestern Michigan, lower Michigan, that area. That's where the Storm Prediction Center in their description has outlined an area of greater concern. Hail is not really a particular threat for Michigan or Indiana. The significant hail is going to stay out to the west. So hail is not really a concern. The main threats from this storm we're getting tomorrow are wind and tornadoes. So that's pretty much what we're looking at. Alright, I'm going to take the county map off, but yeah, you can see that it's pretty much encompassing a large part of the Midwest and the Great Lakes. Marginal risk for severe weather in Indiana and Ohio. That's where the remnants of these storms could go, and they could remain severe given that there's going to be a lot of instability in the atmosphere. The two models I'm going to look at today in regards to this, well, before we do that, let's take a look at the actual radar. This is as of 10:38 p.m. So this is the radar scope. This is the app I use to track different storms. We've had showers and thunderstorms all week. Much needed rain in southwest Michigan, but back here in Colorado, you can see my thing's acting a little slow. Back in Colorado, you can see that there's kind of some weather activity out here. So let's take a look at that. So if I were to take a look at this, this is actually the system that's going to push its way out towards our area over the next 24 hours. And this is what's going to start to, it's going to weaken as it progresses across the plains, but the front and the system associated with it is going to redevelop in the afternoon once we get enough ample instability in the atmosphere. So that's the storm that's heading our way, and this storm will produce some severe weather across our area. So I'm going to close out radar scope now. Let's take a look at the models. So right here is the HRR model. This is a pretty good model when we look for, when we describe different severe weather that's going on around the area. So this model is for about 3 p.m. This is the model for 3 p.m. on Sunday. So you can see this model's really predicting that this little cell right here, the southernmost cell, is actually going to be the southernmost cells on most of these systems are the ones that will be more than likely producing potential tornadoes, because tornadoes typically develop on the south end of a system. Like, if you can look really closely at the video, you can see there's kind of a little hook echo right in this little storm cell at 3 p.m. Usually, moisture gets fed into the storm from the south, and if there's nothing beneath a certain cell that's allowing it to just feed off the moisture from the south, that will typically lead to storms that will intensify and produce tornadoes. So southernmost storms will more than likely be producing the tornadoes, or storms that have open regions into the south. So you have these storms that develop around 3 p.m., and we're going to take a look at some severe weather models. We're going to look at CAPE. CAPE is a measure of instability in the atmosphere. So if we look at CAPE, CAPE is around 2,000 to 3,000 in a lot of places, around 1,000 in Michigan, which is interesting because we have a pretty high threat. So if I were to progress this a little bit forward, okay, there we go. The instability starts to move north into areas in southwest Michigan. So 2,000 to 4,000 joules of instability. That's pretty significant. So that's what's leading to the development of this potential for severe weather. Now, I want to take a look at the supercell composite. This takes all of the model data that we have and it puts it together so we can see different types, or we can see what kind of potential for supercells we have across the region. Western Indiana has a pretty high chance of supercells. That's why they're in the enhanced risk. So does Michigan. In certain spots, we have a level of 6 or 7, 8, but 22 is pretty high. We have 28 in Illinois. Illinois is not really our area of concern, but this is all going to be, anything that develops out here is going to move east-northeastward. So there's going to be quite a bit to watch out for in terms of the weather. Significant tornado parameters, if we take a look at that, 4.1 in eastern Van Buren County. So it's kind of scattered in southwest Michigan, but 4.1 is not extremely high, but it's high enough to be concerning, because there's some places that can get parameters that are a lot higher, but parameters of 4.1 are pretty good. All right, so I'm going to take a look at updraft helicity. This gives us an idea of where tornadoes could potentially form throughout the day. Looks like there's some chance of tornado development in southwest Michigan. I'm going to try a different updraft helicity map. Yeah, it's not really showing. There we go. So Michigan, you have some updraft helicity in the atmosphere based on the current HRR model. It's quite a bit to look at, because updraft helicity is what is needed to produce tornadoes. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Let's take a look at our dew points, because dew point has a major role in how much moisture we'll have for these storms developing. Let me go back to before the storms hit. So we have dew points in the 60s and the 70s. That's what's going to be feeding these storms. Pretty high dew points means the air can hold a lot more moisture. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Temperatures are going to be in the 90s tomorrow, 90s and humid. 90s and quite humid. So if we go to the actual heat index here, it's going to feel like 93 in Michigan, the 90s all across the Great Lakes region. You can see there's cool air on the back side of this. That cool air is going to drop our temperatures into the 60s for Monday and for Tuesday. So that's going to be a lot cooler than what we've been seeing, which is going to be pretty enjoyable for pretty much everyone. So let's go back to the reflectivity, because I want to see how these storms are going to continue to roll through. You got storms beginning to move in. That's a well-defined hook echo on that storm right there. But remember, main threats are for us in southwest Michigan and northwestern Indiana are tornadoes and damaging winds. Damaging winds more than tornadoes. So you have the first batch that develops around, this model is for 5 p.m. 5 p.m. on Sunday. Kind of have to do some math when calculating the time. So 5 p.m. you have your first supercells, your first mesocyclonic systems developing. Moving off to the east, they're progressing rather slowly, but they get really intense as you get to the eastern side of Michigan. That's where they develop into a stronger wind issue. They tend to form a line, and strong winds will develop. We could see some pretty significant winds, greater than 70 miles per hour from these storms. So that's going to be something we need to keep a close eye on. Moving forward, on the back side of this, you have your second wave developing. This is associated with the actual front. So if we move this forward, what's really more concerning is that this line of storms, the first wave, tends to connect across lower Michigan with the second wave. So that means we could see a train of severe thunderstorms in Kalamazoo, Van Buren, Calhoun, all those different counties. We saw that a few years ago, and there were quite a few tornado warnings from that. So we're going to want to keep an eye on that as that progresses. This is at about more like 11 p.m. So this is going to be continuing overnight. As they progress, the second wave begins to arrive around midnight. You have another line of severe thunderstorms developing. More severe thunderstorms off in Illinois, Missouri. This thing's going to be rather long lasting. So we could see quite a few severe storms moving through that area. Oh, fire truck just went by. That was weird. Okay, so moving southeast, the storms will continue into Indiana and Ohio. They'll start to lose their severity. So you may see maybe a pop-up chance of 60 mile per hour wind gusts, maybe a little bit of hail. Significant hail supposed to stay out in Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, those places. So that's what the HRR model is saying. It's saying there's going to be a train of thunderstorms across southern lower Michigan, and as they move east, they're going to change from more supercell structures to a mesocyclonic system that can produce stronger winds. So let's try the NAM model, because the NAM is a little bit different on what they're thinking. NAM is a good measure of severe weather as well. First, I want to take a look at CAPE, because CAPE levels were pretty high for the NAM model based on what I saw on Twitter. Yeah, so 4,000. As we progress throughout the day, it gets higher. Yep, we're in the 4,000s on western Illinois. Then it moves up into Michigan again, 3,400. You have your CAPE up here. So, for similar model, when the models get similar, that's when we get a little more concerned about weather. These models match up pretty well in terms of instability. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Let's take a go back to the reflectivity for the storms. So what the NAM model is projecting is that these storms are actually going to not really develop that quickly. You get the severe storms off to the north, right in that center of low pressure, right associated with that center of low pressure. And southern lower Michigan's not really going to it doesn't appear to get smacked by this according to the NAM. I'm actually trusting the HRR model a little bit more in regards to this severe threat. And as we continue, more severe thunderstorms begin to develop across the western or southern lower Michigan. This is where we start to see that kind of train of storms develop, but they're projecting it'll stay a little bit more southward in like northern Indiana, St. Joseph County, places like that. Again, this is not a confirmation that any of this will happen. There will be strong thunderstorms tomorrow, that's a guarantee, but the question of where and when is the big issue right now. The conditions are favorable for all kinds of severe weather, so we just have to, the trick is figuring out when it's going to happen. So that's pretty much what the models are saying in regards to the severe weather that's going to potentially develop. After this, temperatures are going to drop pretty significantly. We'll see temperatures go from the 90s tomorrow to the 60s on Monday and on Tuesday. So it's going to be much cooler. Then we warm back up to the 80s with some spotty showers and thunderstorm chances developing again, which could lead to more potential for severe weather depending on how the model puts it together. So that's pretty much all of the stuff I wanted to show you in regards to the severe weather. I think I'm going to look up real quick a future track for you. What this future radar, because I kind of like how this is set up here. This is iweathernet.com/interactive radar. pretty good at showing what the weather could look like. So these are the storms that are happening in northern Indiana, western Ohio right now. So that's going to continue to move southeast, and then we're going to slow down the lap speed so you can see the timing on this. So these storms moving off to the southeast. There's the intense thunderstorms coming from Colorado right there, hitting Des Moines, Iowa about 6 a.m., just trucking right through. And then they start to weaken, but they weaken as they hit the lake. But then there's redevelopment behind those. That's what we're looking at right now. There's another supercell that pops up down there. Maybe some spotty showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. 7 p.m., you see the development of this line and some pop-up showers and thunderstorms. So it continues to progress. You see it developing into a more well-defined line of showers and thunderstorms. The big line is going to hit around 2 a.m., according to this model. Then after that, behind it, maybe a little bit of rain left behind. Then it cools way down into the 60s. So that's pretty much what we're looking at. Some good weather is happening over the next couple of days with cooler temperatures. So that's going to be something to look forward to. Alright, so hopefully this video was informative and helpful for you. If you would like to like this video and subscribe for more weather updates, you are more than welcome to do so. If not, that's totally fine. I just hope this information is helpful to you. Be prepared. Secure any loose items outdoors before the storms hit tomorrow night. And make sure you have some type of food, water, or something like that in your basement in case these storms worst case scenario, getting really severe and dropping a couple tornadoes. So keep an eye out for that and enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay safe out there.